and welcome back to the best thing you watched. If this edit is odd, that's because I'm in York and my internet is great.
I got 3 words of that.
Brilliant.
And Ruben disappeared. But hey, you know what? I actually can hear you better now, so that's fine.
Cool. I'm just going to keep talking and then we'll see what we can get.
I can't hear you at all now.
No! If you can't see my face, or rather, if you can, wow, congratulations. If you see my face moving, I'm in York and the internet is crap at the moment, so we're just going to do this. I hope you enjoy what we can get you this week. It might be a little bit haphazard. Hi, Chris. I'm waving. I'm completely naked. I'm picking my nose and scratching my butt because I can do that now.
Perfect. Awesome. And I thank you for that visual too. I didn't need that.
I'll let you talk now. Why don't you just talk about who won the competition last week?
Okay, that sounds good. We had Chris Retzlaff and Red Comet. Nostromo had 2 out of 3, but just I stumped him on the last one. The theme last week was Gary Busey. So the first number 1 was Point Break, then Lethal Weapon. He was Mr. Joshua in that one. Barely had any lines, really. And then Rookie of the Year, which is a great family kids movie. So congratulations to them. Here are this week's, and just, put your answers in the comments. Make sure you give a little bit of space so that everybody has an opportunity to guess. But here we go. Did I miss 60B? Number 2. What man is a man who does not make the world better? Number 3. Shall I describe it to you, or would you like me to find you a box? So, I think these are on the easier side. But let us know. Ruben, I'm going to assume you have a question, and I'm going to cross my fingers that I get to hear it all. You want to ask it?
Yeah, I will. Those questions were pretty good. Reminded me of what's in the box? What's in the box? But yes, what is your current favorite comedy horror? Because we've had quite a few this year, the last few years, that have been really quite good. There's a new genre that I think that's taking off again. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, Chris, and the people in the comments of the favorite current comedy horror.
We have had some really good ones lately. Even I think we're going to talk about one this week. But for me, still at the reigning champion is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk just they're kids are threw himself in the wood chipper. Just. It's so funny. I mean, the first time it's only been in the last couple of years that I first saw it, maybe a handful of years, something like that. Because I didn't understand what the movie was. And so I never clicked on it and I never watched it. And then once I did, I was like, holy crap, why have I not done this? And so now I own it on, Steelbook, Blu-ray, 4K or whatever. And I watch it yearly minimum. So what about you?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good one, isn't it? It is one of our repeat favorites. Maybe not so current, but like in the 90s, 2000, I think it was 2000s, there was a comedy horror with Seth Green called Idle Hands that I recently rewatched, and Jessica Alba, and it's so funny. It reminds me a lot of The Evil Dead, if The Evil Dead didn't take itself too seriously, which is funny because if you watch Evil Dead 2 and The Army of Darkness, that's when it doesn't take itself seriously. This one is all about the guy that he's so lazy that his one hand gets possessed because of his laziness. So he's got to try and stop it from killing people, and then it just goes on a rampage. And then there's a whole lore thing about it, and it's just craziness and stupidness, and still works because of the time frame of when it was set in. It's that sort of stupid comedy worked back then, and because it's kept its nostalgia and the way it looks with its aesthetics, with the color palette, the way they spoke, guys on drugs, and his best friends are one of them is Seth Green, that now has a bottle in his head and is a zombie, and he's like, oh man, you killed me, I can't believe you did that, but they're still friends with him. A lot of fun.
I've not seen this one.
Nice.
I just added it to my list.
Hey. Well, should we dive into what is the best thing we watched this week? Cool. Why didn't you start?
Yes. Okay. Well, continuing on the theme of comedy horrors or horror comedies, Totally Killer on Prime came out. Time travel, very, very reminiscent of Freaky. That had Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn, or Happy Death Day. Both, yes. I believe, Christopher Landon movies, who might be doing the next Scream. And just when you have this quirky little concept, where for this one, there's a serial killer that had happened in the past, and then he returns 30 years later or 40 years later, whatever. Kiernan Shipka stars in this, and she's our main protagonist, and something happens within her family, and which then is traumatic to her. She accidentally goes back in time, and since she's back in the 80s when the first killings were happening, she is now working to try and stop that. This utilizes the timeline, or at least time travel rules, as butterfly effect. So change something in the past, it changes it in the future, which causes all kinds of funny things. The comedy for me really worked because you have a modern sensibility in a time where at that time we didn't see anything wrong with it. Now looking at it through a different lens, it's like, holy crap, we were just a terrible society. The things that we said to people, the way that we referred to people, the whole thing, it was just like, yeesh, that's not cool. We've grown, and so we get that. But the mystery for me was good. The violence was fun. I don't think there were any unique kills or anything like that. But it wasn't so much about that. It was more about just having a really good time while watching this slasher, and participating in the chase, appreciating the mystery of it, and then having characters that we get to see grow, because Shipka meets her mom in the 80s, and her mom is not anything like how Shipka knows her. And so we get to watch a transition happen in that. And so I appreciated that too. I thought it was funny. She gets to see her dad as well, and her friend's mom and parents and stuff. And so it's quirky and it's silly, and it's now going to be, for me, a yearly watch, because I had a lot of fun with it. Would this be on your list, Ruben?
No, yes. It is on my list as number 5 if we had time to get to it, so it's there, but I didn't know whether we would have had time. I think I like it as, it does what it says on the tin. It says you know exactly what it is. My only negatives would be that I didn't really care about any of the characters. I liked the fish out of water with Kiernan Shipka, and I'm not sure that I liked her being bossy to everyone that was in the 80s, because they don't know that they're in the 80s. They're just living that time. So everybody that's doing things that would not be okay in her time, in their time, it's exactly what things are. So she comes across as very like, oh, you're wearing a shirt that has boobies on it, and now just like, that's totally the 80s. But there were some things that I'm glad we've corrected, like... Yeah, totally that is. There are some things that I'm glad we corrected, like the scene with the parents with the smoking in the car. and the kids in the back just like they open the window and they're just like puffing out, and you're like, we did that. That's a thing that we actually did. I mean, that was normal. Like, we just didn't get that, you know, cancer was linked to smoking, or we were ignorant about it. I do think when we got kills, they were gory, but I do think they could have been a little bit more creative. I think they hamstrung themselves. I don't know if that's the word. Because it's called the Sweet 16 Killer, the guy has to stab you 16 times. And visually, in your mind, that sounds scary. But at least with like killers like Freddy or Scream, you know, they could really vary. But here, the guy is like 1, 2, 3, 4. You're like, okay. And also the mask itself, I didn't find the mask that scary. It just felt like someone had bought it out of a costume shop. You found it scary, Chris?
It was a terrible mask. No, I didn't find it scary at all. The mask was the mask was horrifying, but in a terrible way. I mean,
yes. One interesting thing was, I don't know about you, but it felt like the fight scenes were almost martial arts and good. Like the one fight scene with Karen and Shipka fighting the guy in the mask, they looked like they were like doing a few martial art moves. I was like, since when does a killer have like these sort of skills? And I thought that was interesting. It was different.
Yeah,
I love that you're nodding and you're trying to catch up to what I'm saying when I'm saying it. And now I'm just talking over you because you're like, how many seconds is this going to catch up with? And this is comedy genius.
Well, that's okay. That's such as technology there, you know. But
yeah.
No, okay. So I liked it a lot more than you did, but still enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay. What's on your what's top of your list then?
Well, it's interesting because we've got a couple of films to talk about today because we're doing Halloween month and we're talking about a couple. One that we know we're talking about, the other we don't know what we're talking about. One of those films led me down the path of watching something similar. Like, you know, when you watch something, your streaming services will then suggest something else. So I watched a movie that's PG-13, but it has no right being PG-13 or as scary as it was. The only detriment that I can find about it is that it goes a little bit Hollywood towards the end, like a sort of, hey, this is where we're going to blow our budget. But I don't know if you've ever seen the film called The Cave. Yeah. So very similar to The Descent. The Cave... Oh, maybe you haven't. Okay, so The Cave, basically there is what you would call the best of the best deep cave divers. These guys will go down crevices miles deep in the earth, even if it's like blocked up with water, and it's their job to kind of map out places to go and find underwater kingdoms and lost civilization stuff. That's kind of the premise. So this one, they get asked to come and look at a new cave development that has been found, and basically they're 2 miles down and 5 miles in, and then there's a little avalanche and they have to find their new way out that deep. So immediately you're scared for them because they've got a certain amount of oxygen with their tanks, there's a lot of water, and that would be scary enough. But then because it's a civilization that has been not seen for like long time, there's a species that's under there with them that has evolved over time to be the top of their predator, like the top of the predator tree, and then it becomes them surviving. And I thought it becomes like a tense thriller action movie, and it's just a wild ride. And the way the claustrophobia is filmed, the underwater sequences, the darkness, I thought, holy crap, is this PG-13? I don't get that at all. It's very harsh I think in the UK it's a 15, but in America you guys are used to all your guns and stuff, so you know.
Yeah, we're less concerned about violence, so.
No, I'm just prodding the bear.
So we just, blur out the nudity and and anything like that. That's natural.
Yeah.
This looks fun. I'm going to add this to my list. When you said cave, it brought back memories of truly the most horrifying movie I've ever seen. That's actually not even a horror, called Sanctum. And it was
that's damn good. Yeah, that's also with water about a cave. Yeah.
Claustrophobia, and there's no monsters in that. It's just life, and it is
just real
nail biting and yeah. Yeesh. Cool. All right, from 2005. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah.
Cool. We good to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Lupin Part 3. The French Netflix mystery thriller caper adventure series. Honestly, season 2 didn't grab me as much as the first season did. I mean, it was still fun, but it didn't invest me as much. This one, holy crap, I was like fully invested in it. I was having a blast
good again?
Because it is. It's more of it's more personal this time, which I know the whole thing has been personal, especially season 2, because at the end of season 1, Lupin, or actually it's Hassan's son, gets kidnapped. And there's all kinds of inner workings and everything. And so this one, though, dives more into his past and utilizes his past to inform his present. And I had a lot of fun. The biggest, I think, downfall that the series as a whole has, and that may be just because of the books that these are, based on, the capers that these are based on as at least the source material. We always know that Hassan is working a scheme. So it's always a Mission Impossible type thing, or an Ocean's 11, that what we see is not what actually happened. There was a lot more intricacies to it. And so it removes some of the surprise, because at some points we're like, oh, well, that didn't really happen. And I would like for something to actually really happen the way that we watched it play out exactly, with no inner workings or anything else, because then it becomes a surprise. We're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't know whether or not to believe this. But I had a blast with it. I was really invested in it because of the story. They add some new familial elements and tensions within there that I think really works well. Not only to build out Hassan, but then to invest you more in some of the side characters that haven't gotten as much prominence. I thought the series was ending too. I thought it felt like it was wrapping up, like it was just going to be, this is a good cap to it. And then, holy crap, at the end of episode 7, they do a twist, and you're like, oh my gosh. So
that's a good thing?
It's, it's 7 episodes, each, 45, 50-ish minutes long, something like that, close to an hour, whatever. Not a fast binge, but I binged through it fast, because it was just, I was riveted and couldn't get enough.
Nice. I'm so glad it's good again, because, like you, I wasn't a huge fan of the second part.
I feel like I should say over and out.
Roger. I wasn't a huge fan of the second part. Loved the third part. No, that's wrong. Wasn't a huge fan of the second part. Loved the first part. But I am excited about the third part, perhaps? You can't hear me at all anymore, can you?
I have no idea if you're talking. I hear you laughing now. But I heard nothing of what you said, if you said anything.
When Evil Lurks is a scary film that you should not be watching before you go to sleep. Unfortunately, I decided to do that, and that was a mistake. I'm not sure I loved it, but it's a film that sticks with you because it makes you think. It's a possession film that we haven't Well, we have seen, but not quite done in this way. I've never seen possession done on a scale like this. A very interesting, large, atmospheric, wide possession, but also like as if it's a disease. It reminded me a little bit of the Denzel Washington film. I think it's called Fallen. I can't quite remember the title. It might be Fallen, where a demon passes from one person to another just by touch. It's a similar premise. I really like the idea of how Chris's face is changing to the words he doesn't know that I'm saying. But also, I think this is a really well done atmospheric film, but feels slow. So when you get the brutality of the kills in this movie, I was shocked. There's some things I've never seen done before on screen, and they don't shy away from it. But when you see the dialogue that they're talking about, kind of establishing what's going on in the movie, I did kind of zone out a little bit. Not everything needs to be said. So like I'm in two minds with this film. One, it kept making me think, and I didn't like the outcome of it, but it was the logical outcome for this film. Two, brilliantly executed and really, really brutal. So I guess that's why it's on the best thing I watched this week.
This one was, wow. Visually grotesque. You're right. Atmospheric, definitely. I was, gosh, what do I want to say about this? This is not on my list because I felt the story was a little bit too messy, that it didn't stick with its own rules that it had established. That does not take away, though, from the horrifying visuals and the spectacular practical effects that they employed. I mean, that was, if you like gory visuals, if you like when things are not off limits, this one delivers that. It's, you know, you may have said, because I couldn't hear you, you may have said it's Argentinian, and so it's the mix of rural, like very rural, and then town and city. I mean, it was great because you bring in modern ideals, like police and people living with, all kinds of electricity and everything else. And then you also have the farmhouse that has zero electricity to it, and only lamplit lights and everything. And that's what, you need in this world to prevent the spread of the possession. I thought that was unique too. I really liked that idea. It was fun. It was gross. It took a little bit too long for me to get to some of the things. Like once they started the momentum, there was like, oh, this is crazy. And then it would drop back down again in the tension and then kind of amp back up. And then, we would have some things where they didn't stick to what they had agreed to as far as, well, if you touch this, this happens or whatever. I loved the futility of everybody's, at least the seeming futility that happens within everybody's movements and their decision making, because that adds this layer of I don't even know what word that was going to be. It adds a layer of dread that just permeates everything, because when you look at it and when you see all these actions and it's like, nothing I do is going to matter, will it? That just, it brings everybody's morale down and it just becomes hopeless, which is excellent for a story like this.
So what's next on your list, Chris?
So funny enough, so just as context, Ruben and I chose for Horrorween, I don't know if that's trademark, but we're going to use it also if not, and if nobody else has used it, it's ours. But we chose one movie to talk about that we watched together, and then we each chose a horror film that we just wanted to watch this time. For me, I'm not going to touch on it too much because I am I will. Well, I can't totally because anyway, mine, I watched People Under the Stairs. It's a Wes Craven film. And when I say I watched, I saw less than half of it and I turned it off. It is a horror comedy that was not working for me. It was just way too silly and way too goofy. even though I appreciate what it was trying to tell. I mean, it's attacking racism and classism, and just by making you have some gross people who don't allow children out, and then they have somebody living in their walls, and then they have more things living in their walls, and they feed them. It's disgusting. What really, I think, didn't work for me that really just pushed me over the limit was the music that was accompanying the actions. The music was this very whimsical is not the right word. Maybe more like carnival, except not creepy carnival, like silly carnival music. And it didn't match the tone at all. It made things feel very light and lack of attention. This was a first time watch for me too. I had never seen it. I thought I had seen it, but I didn't. And it's just, yeah, I know, how dare I? It's just, yeah, it was, I expected a lot from Wes Craven. This movie just does not hold up. Maybe it gets better as it goes along, but 25 minutes in, 30 minutes in, and I'm still like cringing at the entire thing. That's a lot to ask. It stars Ving Rhames, which is awesome. And fun fact, the lead actor in this is actually in Mighty Ducks, and is it The Sandlot? I have to look that up. But it was kind of cool just seeing him as a kid, because he was child actor for that for a while, and Brandon Quinton Adams, and so he was great. He was doing well in that, but yeah, Sandlot and the Mighty Ducks. So anyway.
Okay, so it's been a really long time since I saw People Under Stairs, probably like way, way back when. I remember being scared of it, but I'm not even sure, like you, that I've seen all of it, or if it even in context is the same film, because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking of the Children of the Corn in context with the kids under the stairs, so I may have to go back and see how bad that film actually is. I saw someone do a deep dive on an anime film that it came out in the 80s that a lot of people... Oh, Chris, this is Legend of the Overfiend. That a lot of people say that you shouldn't be watching because it's bad. It has so many themes that are nasty and grotesque and very adult. I 100% agree with that. But actually, it's an anime that has incredible animation, and the story is messed up, but it's the most anime of all time. There's this guy, seemingly normal geeky kid, that shouldn't be what he becomes. But at one point in the film, you're having giant penises the size of skyscrapers destroying buildings, and then you're having demons taking over the world. It's a really dark horror look, and it's almost like an answer to what Akira was. If you thought Akira was going out there, Legend of the Overfiend is one of the goriest and creepiest anime movies that has now become cult status, and actually a lot of the people that used to go, no, that's a terrible film, now regarded it as one of the best. So if you can handle goriness and everything that was the 80s and things that you probably couldn't make now, then I would suggest watching this if you're an anime fan. I am done now, Chris.
I am done now, Chris. Okay. So that I have not seen that, but I think you've told me about that before. Like it feels like a horrifying story, or just like gross and graphic and everything, especially for an anime. So I'm going to have to try and find that. And you may have even said where you watched it. I don't know. So we're going to talk about a movie that we watched that is, it's atrocious. It is probably, when people say, oh, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, or this is the worst movie of the year, I'm sorry. I don't buy into that hyperbole, because when you're commenting on something that is in the theater and it's, you just didn't like it. Fair enough. You don't watch enough movies, though. I'm just telling you right now. Mary Had a Little Lamb. It is now in the public domain. We had Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which is a terrible movie, but one that I saw in the theater, and because of the theater experience, it was outstanding. I mean, it was great because everybody there knew what this was all about. Mary Had a Little Lamb hit VOD this week, and let me tell you, this is a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. This could be the worst movie of the year, but we do have one that hit the public domain coming up in another 2 weeks, so that may actually take the reign. We don't know. We'll find out. This is boring. This is just like, I think you said, Ruben, in your review, like even worse than student film making, because the cinematography is, for the most part, not good at all. Too close, that stuff. The lamb man, her boy, Mary's boy, who's the little lamb, except he's not little. It's just a mask. There's nothing else to it. There's no movements to it. There's no nothing. I mean, not even glowing eyes. Something would have been a lot more fun with that. We have people that show up to this place, and you're right, because I thought it was Emma Stone at first, and it was certainly an Emma Stone look-alike. And Ruben has completely left me now.
Yeah. I hated it. I hate this movie because there's actually a semblance of a good movie in here if they edited it well. The worst thing for me, and literally there is a lot to dissect as to how to make a bad student film, which this isn't. It had a budget of just under 100 grand. The Evil Dead had a budget of 100 grand, so don't come at me with like, oh, there's a small budget. No. The buzz track, the score, there literally is no buzz track in some of the parts of the movie, so they cover it with score. But some of the score doesn't make any sense to what's happening. And then when you're getting kills, they dip down the music, have it melancholy, making no sense. So you can't hear like the guy's head being chopped off. All you hear is some sort slightly, but something's happening because the visuals on screen is telling you something is happening, but there's no other cues. It's like they have all these edits and then they edit it together without looking at the other edits.
I liked part of the score, especially in the first port. No, wait, listen to me. Wait. Like when I'm listening. The redhead is having a conversation with Mary, the music is foreboding and it's building and it matches the tone really, really well. Yeah, you're right though. When we get to the the kills, it's mismatched. There's a huge lack of Foley in this that we just the sound effects, the natural walking noises, all of that. It's just like, and I think that's because they probably just didn't have the right equipment, and
probably, yeah,
which is no excuse, but
I mean. Yeah. You mentioned in your review, there's literally a part, and it happens a few times, where it seems like someone's sitting on a microphone, and because the ambience of it is like it's been ruffled.
Okay, I didn't get the whole thing, but I think I know the context. Because there was like, especially in the one scene that it was the most distracting for me was when the redhead again in that scene was talking with Mary in front of the fireplace, and it would flip back and forth. Now, they're supposed to be eating, but we never actually watch them eat. And so the noise, the sound effects, the Foley, which they have at this point, and probably just not, it's probably just off-camera noise that's, but we get these weird sounds. Like it's like, or, and it's, but we don't see anything. And so it's very distracting because we've never been giving exactly. It's so bad because you're like, if you're going to show somebody eating and capture these sounds, or if you're not going to remove these sounds in the edit, then take a wider shot. You know what I mean? Show them both together versus this back and forth thing. And because we did get a wide shot at one point, we got to see them. And anyway, yeah. So if you come at us and you say, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, and it's like just a middle of the road movie. No, you need to go watch more movies. Each week I could probably tell you a worse movie than some of these. Doesn't mean you hated it. It doesn't mean that it's the worst movie ever.
There's actually one good part in this movie, Chris. But just the best part is what you heard.
I didn't hear anything. I heard...
okay. I was just talking about Mary herself. That one conversation with her on the couch I thought was really good.
They had the workings of something that could have been disturbing, deep, gross, whatever. But they stayed very surface level and very just stupid the entire way through.
Yeah, they really did.
All right. Well, this has been an interesting show, to say the least. We do thank you for joining us, putting up with this. Hopefully you've put up with this for this. Next week, we will be back with full video, full audio, hopefully working and completely in sync and making sense, not seeming like just two different conversations. You can say that this is the worst movie that you've seen, because this is probably highly entertaining and highly stupid all at the same time. But hey, we have a Patreon opportunity at patreon.com/thebeardedones. It's £1. There's over 60 videos. New ones being added all the time. There's different tiers that you can join in if you want, that give you different levels of access and different abilities to request different items from us that we would, talk about or discuss or whatever. There's also a couple that are outside the paywall, so you can check those out as well just to see what we get up to. Again, it's on the screen. It's in the description below. We appreciate and just love our patrons that we have. We have a lot of fun chatting with them. It's a nice little community there, and so that's outstanding. If you'd like to be part of that, patreon.com/thebeardedones. Head over to YouTube, and, well, you're actually on YouTube watching this. Like, share, subscribe. Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday. Me, Chris, Movies and Munchies. If you're watching on Ruben's channel, head over to Chris. If you're watching on Chris's channel, head over to Ruben. Give love that way. Share it amongst your friends, even if it's not this video, other ones. Let us know what your favorite horror comedy is. Like Ruben had asked, don't forget about the movie quote quiz. And, okay, with that, we're going to end this nonsense. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.